Cletus, we need your help. The problem is original sin. The problem is no one is talking about the idea of the true original sin. When Adam was in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 2:20, God brought all the animals to him, and he named the animals. He checked all the animals out. And you know what? He did not find a worthy helpmate. In that action, he has rejected what God has brought to him for his companionship. And what happened? He has rejected. That's rebellion. Rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. He rebelled against God. But no one talks about that. God, he figured it out though. I'll make another creature. Out of all the sloppy seconds I've got left over, sort of like the platypus. So we built this creature. And you know what? He knew that man was going to reject it like every other. But he knew one thing. Man is always interested in getting back what has been taken from him. So in God's wisdom, he pulled a rib out of Adam and stuck it into Eve. He knew that Adam would then decide that this is what he wanted. But God isn't going to allow original sin to just fester and grow. He will provide a punishment for that sin. So he fine-tuned the woman's brain to think logically in a different way than man's did, guaranteeing that they would have many arguments. You didn't come right home from work on payday. Where were you? Many other arguments, all because God decided to mess with man to punish him for his original sin that no one is even talking about. In Isaiah 13:21, the Bible mentions the Seder, which is proof that there were at that time holy men and women of God who did not follow Adam's original sin, but followed God's original design for the human companion. And God opened the wombs, and there were satyrs. Matthew 15:3 and 4. Christ condemns the religious leaders for not executing rebellious children. He did not condemn anyone for not executing rebellious satyrs. That's because those that followed God's original plan, their children, their offspring, the satyrs, they were not rebellious. So the rebellion in the children all stems from the rebellion in Adam's heart. Mark 10:29 and 30. Christ tells of the rewards given to those that forsake, just leave, abandon their families, their wives, their property, their children. Drop them now. Follow me. Christ knew not one of them had a satyr for a child. They all had human children. Now, as Jesus prepared to leave this planet, he knew his time was short. He was going to Jerusalem. He sent 2 of his disciples ahead to get an ass and a colt. And when someone was to ask them why they're untying these animals, their reply was, "The Master hath need of them." So there, Christ is showing us that when we are looking to get away from the original sin of Adam, that the ass and the colt are the best companions out there. Why do you think so many gay men have entered the priesthood? Revelation 14:4 tells why. They have not defiled themselves with women, so they are much holier than the rest of us. 1 Corinthians 7:8 and 9. Paul speaking to the unmarried and widowed. His advice is for them to stay single. Paul had abandoned his family, his wife, his property, to follow Christ. And he encouraged them to do the same. The only reason you should get married, according to Paul, is if you are so burning with lust for the woman to follow Adam's original sin that you might do something with that woman. And of course, even if it's within marriage, it's still rebellion. God said it. I believe it. That settles it. Now my question, Cletus. Are you a man after God's own heart? Do you have an ass or a colt? And if you do, does she have a cute sister? Because, man, I live in the city. I don't have one. And I need help resisting Satan's temptations with women. And the only way I can is to come into a right family relationship as God intended. So, Cletus, do you know anyone that could hook me up?